Number 10. Georgia Horse Show. Brianna Chadwick was 20 years old when she died last month in July 2022. Her death was a freak accident that happened at a horse show in Georgia. Brianna was an aspiring elementary school teacher with a long and bright future in front of her. Sadly, that future never came to light because during the Parade of Wagons event at the Murray County Saddle Club, a horse smashed into a gate, which flung open and hit Brianna with such incredible force that she died. The young woman was quickly airlifted to Erlanger Hospital in Chattanooga, but it was already too late. Her family and the community were devastated, and all this because somebody lost control of their horse. According to eyewitnesses, once the horse got loose and started rampaging, people were screaming to close the gate so it couldn't get out. Brianna, only wanting to help, sprang into action and ran to close it. But the horse got there first, smashed through it, and caused the gate to fling open with a force of 1,400 pounds, moving at a speed of 30 miles per hour. The metal gate was like a sledgehammer against Brianna's body. Number 9. Stray Dog Menace. 8 days after a baby was born in North Carolina, he became yet another poor victim of canine violence. The newborn baby was killed by a stray dog, which his family had let in to feed and take care of. The dog was shown every kindness by these people, and it repaid them by taking the life of their child. The dog had initially showed up at their house randomly. They let the dog hang out for a few days, realizing it was in need. Then they bonded with the animal, started feeding it, gave it a good home, and showered it with all the love that it didn't get on the street. It had really started to feel like a member of the family. But all of that changed in November 2021, after the birth of their son. The stray dog, which happened to be a female pit bull, attacked the baby without being provoked. This was a fully grown pit bull with powerful jaws, and there was no way for a helpless baby to defend itself. After the horrifying and traumatic incident, the dog was taken by the Johnson County Animal Control to be euthanized. As for the family, they are trying to move on after the most devastating event of their lives, telling local news they only want privacy and to not be identified. Their lives are in shambles. Their baby is gone. And all because they brought in an animal off the streets out of the goodness of their hearts. Number 8. African Pit Viper. A man in Virginia was keeping one of the deadliest snakes in the world in his home as a pet. His beloved serpent was an African pit viper, also known as a gaboon viper. It's an extraordinarily violent and dangerous reptile with lethal venom that can kill a grown man in just a few hours. When the man's treasured viper attacked him earlier this year on March 27, 2022, he found himself in a tough situation. He needed a very specific kind of anti-venom if he was going to survive through the night. An anti-venom which he didn't have handy, even though he frequently handled the snake. First, the man went to the Virginia Commonwealth University Medical Center. The doctors there were able to quickly get some anti-venom from the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., but he needed another couple doses or he would die. That's when the Virginia State Police came to the rescue. They acted as couriers, picking up additional anti-venom from an aquarium in Virginia Beach 100 miles away. They got the anti-venom back just in time, and by the end of it all, the snake keeper had been given 35 doses. It was a miracle he survived the bite, but we don't know what happened to him or his pit viper after the fact. Number 7. Giant Pet Crocodile. A woman in Indonesia got into a huge fight with her gigantic pet crocodile. It happened on January 10, 2019, at the victim's pearl farm on the island of Sulawesi. Her name was Daisy Duo, and she was feeding the croc when it suddenly decided it didn't like the food she had. Instead of eating its special crocodile food, the enormous reptile figured it would just eat its owner instead. The crocodile, unironically named Mary, bit the woman's arm off in one motion with a giant chomp. Mary was an absolute beast of an animal, weighing over 1,500 pounds. It took the first bite to sever her arm, and the second bite to tear apart most of her abdomen. She didn't survive long after the initial bite, but experienced overwhelming and terrible pain in the process. To make matters worse, Daisy, who was only 44 years old, had been keeping the animal illegally. The crocodile was her beloved pet, and she was the head of the laboratory at the Pearl Farm. There was plenty of room for her to keep Mary, and nobody at the farm ever told on her. She fed the crocodile every day, and there seemed to be no actual reason for why it finally snapped. It dragged her into its enclosure late in the evening, and Daisy's body wasn't found until a day later. And believe it or not, this was hardly the first death by croc in Indonesia. In 2016, a Russian tourist was visiting a popular diving site near Sulawesi when he was also attacked and eaten by a crocodile. Number 6. Rabid dogs in Capitol Hill. In Capitol Hill, Calgary, an elderly woman was killed by 3 crazy dogs. It happened in June 2022, on a seemingly warm and peaceful Sunday morning. The woman was 83 years old, just minding her own business in the back alley behind her house when the attack happened. She was bent over messing with the back section of her yard when one of her neighbor's dogs escaped. These were somebody's pets, a trio of them kept inside a fenced yard. Somehow they worked together to bust out, and the first thing they did was go after the elderly woman just trying to garden. The woman was transported to the nearest medical center but died later that evening from devastating injuries. The dogs ripped her apart and then scattered into the wind. According to the Calgary police, the investigation is still ongoing. It hasn't been made clear whose dogs they were, and nobody has been held responsible or come forward. Although the police did say that if they find out whose dogs they were, that person could be charged with negligence causing death. So it's unlikely that anyone would willingly fess up. Number 5. The worst marmoset owner. A woman named Vicky Holland has proved to be one of the worst pet owners in the world. Vicky has pleaded guilty to abusing her pet marmoset using multiple sick and twisted methods. A marmoset is a small primate that typically lives in the forests of Central and South America. She managed to get the monkey from an unknown source and bring it to her home in Newport, South Wales. From there, her terrible treatment of the monkey began. She offered the animal cocaine. She tried to flush it down the toilet and verbally and physically abused the monkey while recording videos of it all on her cell phone. After police found out and they managed to get hold of the videos, she was dragged to court in 2021. Vicky was banned from ever keeping an animal in her home again, charged with 3 Animal Welfare Act offenses, and was given a suspended jail sentence of 12 weeks. In the end, the only real punishment she received was having to pay $420 in fines. There was also public humiliation, since she turned into one of the most hated women in all of South Wales. Then there's the fact that just a few months earlier, Vicky got into trouble with the police for hiding thousands of dollars worth of cocaine inside a children's chocolate Kinder Surprise eggs. The good news is that the monkey was never harmed or injured and was rescued by the RSPCA. It's currently living peacefully at a monkey rescue center. Number 4. Sloth at the border. A woman was arrested while trying to cross the border into Canada with a 3-toed sloth. Her name is Vanessa Rondeau, and she was the owner of the Old Cavern Boutique in Montreal. She was trying to re-enter Canada from Vermont with a collection of bizarre and highly illegal wildlife items. She had 12 horseshoe crabs, 18 crocodile skulls, 30 sea stars, 23 severed raccoon feet, a human skull, 4 puffer fish, 6 shark jaws, 8 African antelope horns, 7 crocodile feet, and 1 3-toed sloth. Not your typical trip to Vermont. Her business in Montreal specialized in curiosities of all kinds, but mainly oddity items made from pieces of actual wildlife. This is incredibly illegal, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have been watching her for over 3 years. Between 2018 and 2019, wildlife officers watched 30 mail parcels be sent from Rondeau to the United States, containing things like polar bear skulls, bat wings, and even the skin of a zebra. This woman was not collecting pets though. She was collecting animal parts and was heavily involved in the illegal international animal trade. We don't know what she was trying to do with the 3-toed sloth, if she was going to keep it as a pet or kill it and make it into a soup. but thankfully she was caught with it at the border. We also have no clue where she got the other bizarre animal pieces. Vanessa Rondeau was busted in 2021 going over the border, but there have been no reports about a long-term prison sentence or if she was allowed back into Canada. Number 3. Deadly hyena pack. In the African nation of Zimbabwe, an elderly man found himself at the mercy of a pack of wild hyenas. It happened in November of 2020 while he was trying to sleep. He was 87 years old and identified by local authorities as Tendai Maseka. He had been snoozing in his hut where he lived in the extremely rural region of Chirumanzu when the hyenas suddenly came in. Before he could wake up and start screaming, they were dragging him outside. They pulled him to the outskirts of the village, where it was dark and nobody could see what was happening, and they ate him alive. By the time his corpse was found by fellow villagers, most of it was missing. The entire bottom half of him was gone, fully consumed by the hungry scavengers, and the top half hardly looked like it belonged to a human body anymore. Following this terrifying incident, a spokesman for the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority made a statement. They said park rangers were hunting for the hyenas to decrease any further threat, but we don't know if they ever found them. It looks like the hyenas may have gotten away with it, and although they weren't technically anyone's pets, there are so many hyenas in central Zimbabwe that they're basically like raccoons, just kind of there all the time in the background, which is a frightening thought. Number 2. CHARLA Nash and Travis the chimp. CHARLA Nash was disfigured by a chimpanzee named Travis, and now has no face. The incident happened on February 16, 2009. Travis was already a national celebrity who was born at the Missouri Chimpanzee Sanctuary in 1995. At 3 days old, he was sold for $50,000 to Jerome and Sandra Harold. He went with the couple to work and everywhere else, turning into a local celebrity. Travis dressed in human clothes, did chores, and ate every meal with his family. He was really like their child, and the Harolds treated him just like he was. But the years were unkind to the family. The Harolds' real child was killed in a car accident in 2000, and in 2004, Jerome died of cancer. Sandra was left with no one else but Travis the chimp. They quickly became best friends. But Travis started acting weird. He seemed to be getting stranger with age and becoming more unpredictable. When Sandra's friend CHARLA was visiting in 2009, something snapped in the chimp. Nobody really knows what caused Travis to freak out, but experts say it may have been the fact that CHARLA had recently changed her hair. It could have frightened the chimp. Whatever the case, Travis attacked her, would not let go, and Sandra had to bash him with a shovel and stab him in the back with a knife to get him off the woman. When the cops showed up, Officer Frankie finished the chimp off by opening fire with his handgun. Travis, scared, confused, and bleeding profusely, crawled back into the house, went into his cage, and died alone. In the aftermath, CHARLA was never the same. Travis had quite literally torn her face off, and also broken almost every bone in her face. She was left blind, with her lips and nose ripped off, her eyelid torn away, and most of her scalp removed. She also lost her left hand and had a mangled right hand. Number 1. Frankie the Goose. In the Canadian province of British Columbia, a woman named Kate lives on a rural homestead with quite a few bird pets on her property. There are ducks, chickens, and geese all over the property. But one bird in particular is like a member of her family. His name is Frankie, and he's a goose. According to Kate and her family, Frankie is more of a dog than a bird. He follows them around, is attentive, and likes to know what everyone is doing and keep them safe. But Frankie got into some serious trouble in early 2022. Kate was inside breastfeeding her 4-month-old daughter in nothing but her underwear when she heard Frankie squawking in terror outside. She looked out the window and saw an eagle trying to carry the goose away. Thinking quickly, the mother ran outside in her undergarments with the baby still feeding and chased off the eagle with one hand. The brave rescue was all captured on the front door camera, and the video has since gone viral. She acted in a split second, sprinting out of the house with superhuman speed without the baby so much as missing a drop of milk. Kate says she doesn't regret uploading the footage and that she would have chased the eagle completely naked if it meant saving her precious goose, Frankie. Would you ever have an exotic animal as a pet? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe and come back soon for more awesome videos.